Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. And today I am going to discuss a new movie, and the movie name is Edward Scissorhands. So let's start. And Edward Scissorhands is a 1990 American gothic romantic fantasy film directed by Tim Burton. It was produced by Burton and Denise D. Novi, written by Caroline Thompson and from a story by her and Burton and starring Johnny Depp as the title characters and along with Winona Ryder, Diana West, Anthony Michael Hall, and Kathy Baker, Vincent Price, and Alan Arkin. It tells the story of an unfinished artificial humanoid who has skisser blades instead of hands taken in by a suburban family and falls in love with their teenage daughter. And Burton conveyed Edward Scissorhands from a childhood upbringing in suburban Burbank, California during pre-productions of Beetlejuice. Thompson was hired to adapt Burton's story into a screenplay, and the film began development at 20th Century Fox after Warner Bros. Declined. Edward Scissorhands was then fast-tracked after Burton's critical and financial success with Batman. The film also marks the fourth collaborations between Burton and film score composer Danny Elfman and was Vincent Price's last film's role to be released in his lifetime. And Edward Scissorhands was a critical and commercial success, grossing over four times its $20 million budget. The film won the British Academy Film Award for the Best Productions Design and the Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentations, in addition to receiving multiple nominations at the Academy Award, British Academy Film Awards, and the Saturn Award. Both Burton and Elfman considers Edward Scissorhands their most personal and favorite work. And here you can see the theatrical poster of the movie Edward Scissorhands and the story of an uncommonly gentleman, and directed by Tim Burton, screenplay by Caroline Thompson, story by Tim Burton and Caroline Thompson, Produced by Denise Di Novi, Tim Burton, and starring Johnny Depp and Winona Ryder, Danny West, Anthony Michael Hall, Kathy Baker, and Vincent Price, Ellen Arkin. Cinematography, Stephen Kajavsky, edited by Richard Halsey, music by Danny Elfman, and productions companies 20th Century Fox. Distributed by 20th Century Fox, release date is December 6, 1990. Los Angeles, December 7, 1990, United States. Running time is 105 minutes. Country is United States. Languages is English and budget is $20 million. So box office $86 million. And so now let's start talk about the plot and here is the information about the plot. So plot. One snowy evening, an elderly woman tells her granddaughter the story of a young man named Edward who has scissor blades for hands and many years earlier packed box door to door Avon and saleswoman drives to the decrepit Gothic mansion where Edward lives perched and on a hill overlooking packed stereotypically pastels suburban neighborhood, the creations of an old inventor. Edward is an angelus humanoid. The inventor homeschooled Edward but died from a heart attack before giving Edward hands. Leaving him unfinished, Peg finds Edward alone and offers to take him to her home, and she introduces Edward to her husband Bill, their young sons, and Kevin and their teenage daughter. Kim. Edward falls in love with Kim as their neighbors and are curious about the new house guest and the Burgesses through a neighborhood barbecue welcoming him. Most of the neighbors are fascinated by Edward and befriend him, except for the eccentric religious fantastic Esmeralda. And came the supercilious boyfriend, Jim. Edward repays the neighborhood for their kindness by trimming their hedges into topiaries, progressing to grooming dogs and later styling the hair of the neighborhood woman. One of the neighbors, Joyce, offers to help Edward open a hair salon. While scouting a location, Joyce attempts to seduce him but scares him away, and Joyce lies to the neighborhood woman that Edward forced himself on her, reducing their trust in him. Edward's dream of opening the salon is renewed when the bank refuses him a loan. Jealous of Kim's attractions to Edward, Jim takes advantage of his naivety by asking him to pick the lock on his parents' home so he can steal his father's electronic goods and sell them to buy a van. Edward agrees, but when he picks the lock and enters the house, a burglar alarm is triggered and walls come down and trapping him inside. Jim flees and Edward is arrested. The police determine that a lifetime of isolation has left Edward without any common senses or morality. The He cannot be criminally charged. Edward nevertheless takes a responsibility for the robbery, telling Kim that he did it because he asked him to. Consequently, and he is shunned by the entire neighborhood except for the Bogue family. A Christmas Edward carves an ice sculpture modeled after Kim, and the ice shavings are thrown into the air and fall like snow, something that has never happened before in the town. And Kim dances in the snowfall. Jim arrives suddenly, calling out to Edward, surprising him and causing him to accidentally cut Kim's hand. Jim accuses Edward of intentionally harming her, but Kim, fed up with Jim's uh, zealous behavior towards Edward, breaks up with him. Meanwhile, Edward flees. Kim's parents go to find Edward while she stays behind in case he returns. Edward returns and finding Kim there, she asks him to hold her and arranges his Scissor's hand so they can embarrass Jim's drunken friend. Drives to Kim's house and nearly runs over Kim's younger brother, Kevin, but Edward pushes Kevin to safety while inadvertently cutting him. Witnesses accuse Edward of attacking Kevin when Jim assaults him. Edward defends himself and injures Jim's arm before fleeing back to the inventor mansions on the hill. Kim goes to find Edward. Jim obtains a gun, follows her, and shoots at Edward before grabbing a fire poker and beating him and Edward refuses to fight back until he sees Jim strike him as he attempts to intervene. Enraged, and Edward stabs Jim in the stomach and pushes him from a window of the mansion to his death. And Kim confesses her love to Edward and kisses him as they accept that their love can never be fulfilled. As the neighbors gather, Kim convinces them that Jim and Edward killed each other, and the elderly woman, revealing herself to be Kim, finishes telling her granddaughter the story and says that she never saw Edward again. And hoping that by staying away he would remember her as she was in her youth. She believed he is still alive because it would not be showing without him, and Edward is then seen carving eyes, sculptures of his experiences with Kim, and with savings of ice floating down from the mansions as snow in the wind. And the elderly Kim, commenting on the show, concludes, "Sometimes you can still catch me dancing in it." So now let's talk about the cast. Johnny Depp as Edward Scissorhands, Winona Ryder as Kim Boggs, Diane West as Beck Boggs, and Anthony Michael Hall as Jim, and Vincent Price as the inventor, Alan Arkin as Bill Boggs, and Robert Oliveri as Kevin Boggs, Kathy Baker as Joyce Monroe, and Conchata Farrell as Helen. Susan Blumert as Tinka, Coraline Aron as Marge, and Olen Jones as Esmeralda, Dick Anthony Williams as Officer Allen, and John Davidson as a television host, Peter Palmer as an editor, and so now let's talk about the production. Start with the development. The genesis of Edward Scissorhands came from a drawing by the then teenage director Tim Burton, which reflected his feelings of isolation and being unable to communicate to people around him in suburban and Burbank. The drawing depicted a thin, solemn man with long, sharp blades for fingers. Burton stated that he was often alone and had trouble retaining friendships, and I get the feeling people just got these owls to want to leave me alone for some reasons, and I don't know exactly why. During pre-productions or Beatles, you see Burton hired Caroline Thompson, then a young novelist, to write the Edward Scissorhands screenplay as a spec script. Burton was impressed with her short novel Firstborn, which was about an abortions that come back and to life. Burton felt Firstborn had the same psychological elements, and he wanted to showcase in Edward and Scissorhands. Every detail was an important to Tim because it was so personal, and Thompson remarked she wrote Scissorhands as a love poem to Burton, standing he is the most articulate person and I know. But I couldn't tell you a single complete sentence he has ever said. And shortly after Thompson hiring, Burton began to develop Edward Scissorhands at Warner Bros. With whom he worked on Pee-wee's Big Adventures, Beetlejuice, and Batman. However, within a couple of months, Warner Bros. Sold the film's night to 20th Century Fox. Fox agreed to finance Thompson's screenplay while giving Burton's complete creative controls at the time, and the budget was projected to be around $8 to $9 million, $8 to $9 million. When writing the storyline, Burton and Thompson were influenced by Universal's horror films such as The Hunchback of Notre Dame 1923, The Phantom of the Opera 1925, Frankenstein's 1931, and Creature from the Black Lagoon 1954, as well as King Kong 1933, and various fairy tales. Burton originally wanted to make Scissorhands as a musical feeling, and it seemed big and operatic to me, but later dropped the idea. Following the enormous success of Batman, Burton arrived to the status of being an A-list director. He had the opportunity to do any film he wanted, but rather than fast track Warner Bros. Choices for Batman Returns or Beetlejuice goes Hawaiian, Burton opened to make Edward Scissorhands for Fox, and now let's talk about the casting. All through Winona Ryder was the first cast member attached to the script, and and Diane Weist was the first to sign on. Diane, in particular, was wonderful. Burton, Burton said she was the first actress to read the script, supported it completely, and because she is so respected, once she had given it her stamp of approval. Others would go interested. When it comes to casting the lead role of Edward, several across were just wait where I was. Actors were considered. Fox was consistent. Fox was consistent. Fox was insistent on having Burton meet and meet with Tom Cruise. He certainly was not my ideal, but I talked to him. I talked to him, and Burton remembered he was interesting, but I think it worked out for the best. A lot of questions came up. Cruises asked for a happier ending. Gary Oldman was on Burton's shortlist for the part, but he turned it down. Oldman didn't understand the script and found the story to be absurd, but understood it after watching literally 2 minutes of the completed. Jim Carrey was also considered for the role, while Thompson's favored John Cusack. Elsewhere, Tom Hanks and William Hurt, Robert Downey Jr., and musician Michael Jackson expressed interest. All through Burton did not converse with Jackson. And Tough Burton was unfamiliar with Johnny Depp's and then popular performances in 21st Jump Street. He had always been Burton's first choice, and at the time of his casting, Depp was seeking to break out, obtain ideal status with his performances in 21st Jump Street had afforded him when he was sent the script. Depp immediately found personal and emotional connections with the story in preparations for the role, and Depp watched many Charlie Chaplin films to study the idea of creating sympathy without dialogue. Fox studio executives were so worried about Edward's image and that they tried to keep pictures of Depp in full costume under wraps until release of the film, and Burton approached Ryder for the role of Kim Box based on their positive working experiences in Beetlejuice. Drew Barrymore previously auditions for the role. Crispin Glover auditioned for the role of Jim before authority Michael Hall was cast. Michael Hall was cast and Kathy Baker saw her part of Joyce and the neighbor who tries to statue Elward and has a perfect chance to break into comedy. Alan Arkin says when he first read the script, he was a bit babed. Nothing really made sense to me until I saw the sets and Burton's visual imagination is extraordinary and the role of the inventor was written specifically for Vincent Price and would ultimately be his final features film role. Burton commonly watched Prince and where I was Prince films as a child, and after completing Vincent, the two became good friends, and Robert Olivery was cast as Kevin, Kim's younger brother. And Just wait, and now let's talk about the filming. Burbank, California was considered as a possible location for the suburban neighborhoods, and but Burton believed the city had become too altered since his childhood. So the Tampa Bay area of Florida, including the town of Lodge on Thames Smith Circle, inside the Carpenter's Run, and and subdivision, and at the Southgate shopping center of Lakeland was chosen. Lakeland was chosen for a 3 month shooting schedule. The production's crew found in the words of the production's designer Bowell's a kind of generic plain wrapped suburb which we made even more characterless by painting all the houses in faded pastels and reducing the window sizes to make it look a little more paranoid, and the key element to unify the look of the neighborhood was Wells' decision to repaint each of the house in one of four colors, which he described as sea foam, green, dirty flesh, butter, and dirty blue. And so, where I was, the facade of the Gothic mansion was built just outside Dade City. The majority of filming took place in Lutz between March 26 and July 1990, and filming Edward Scissorhands created hundreds of jobs and injected over 4 millions Tampa Bay into the Tampa Bay economy. Productions then moved to a Fox Studios soundstage in Century City, California, where interiors of the mansions were filmed to create Edward Scissorhands Burton employed Steen Winston, who would later design the penguin's prosthetic makeup in Batman Returns. Depp's wardrobe and prosthetic makeup took 1 hour and 45 minutes to apply, and the giant topiaries that Edwards created in the film were made by wrapping metal skeletons in chicken wire, then weaving in thousands of small plastic plant springs. Rick Hendricks worked as one of the art directors. Worked as one of the art directors and music. Edward Scissorhands in the fourth features film collaborations between directors and most personal and favorite work in editions of Elfman Music's 3 Tom Jones. Tom Jones' songs also appear. It's not unusual, Delilah, and with these hands, it's not unusual, would later be used in Mars Attack and another film of Burton's with music composed by Elfman. Burton's acknowledged that the main themes of Edward Scissorhands deal with self-discovery and isolation, and so where I was. Edward is found living alone in the attic of a Gothic castle's setting that is also used for main characters in Burton's Beetlejuice Batman Returns, and The Nightmare Before Christmas. Edward Scissorhands and so Climaxes much like James Wallace, Frankenstein's, and Burton's own fragments. A mob confronts the evil creatures, in this case Edwards, at his castle, with Edwards unable to consummate his love for Kim because of his appearances. The film can also be seen as being influenced by Beauty and the Beast. Edward Scissorhands is a fairy tale book ended by a prologue and an epilogue featuring Kim Box as an old woman telling her granddaughter the story, argumenting the German expressionism and Gothic fiction's archetypes. And Burton explains that his depictions of suburbia is not a bad place, it's a weird place. I tried to walk the fine line of making it funny and strange without it being judgmental. It's a place where there's a lot of integrity. Kim leaves her jock boyfriend to be with Edward, an event that have postulated as Burton's revenge against jocks he encountered as a teenager in suburban Burbank, California. Jim is subsequently killed, a scene that shocked a number of observers who felt the whole tone of the film had been radically altered. Burton refers to this scene as a high school fantasy. So now let's talk about the reception. Start with the box office. Test screenings for the films were encouraging for 20th century folks. Joey Ruth, then president of the company, considered marketing Edward Scissorhands on the scale of an ET-sized blockbusters, but Roth decided not to aggressively promote, and the film in that directions. We have to let it find its place, and we want to be careful not to hype the movie out of the universe. And he reasons Edward Scissorhands has its limited release in the United States on December 7th, and 1990 the wide release came on December 14th, and the film earned 63 lakhs dollars in its opening weekend in 1372 theaters. Edward Scissorhands eventually grossed 5 crore 63 lakhs in North America, and a further 2 crore 96 lakh and $61,000 outside North America, coming to a worldwide total of 86.2 million dollars, with a budget of $20 million. The film is considered a box office success. The New York Times wrote the chemistry between Johnny Depp and Winona Ryder, who were together in real life at that at the time. 1989 to 1993 gave the film teen ideal potentials, uh, drawing younger audiences. Now it's time to critical response. Critical response. And where is the critical response? So let's talk about the critical response. Edward Scissorhands received acclaim from critics and audiences. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 91% of 69 critics reviews are positive, and the website's consensus reads the first collaborations between Johnny Depp and Kim Burton. Edward Scissorhands is a magical modern fairy tale with gothic overtones and a sweet centers. Metacritics, which uses weighted average assigned the film a score of 74 out of 100 based on 19 critics and indicating generally favorable reviews and cinema score reported that audiences gave the film a minus grade and Peter Travers of Rolling Stones praised the piece of stating Burton's richly entertaining update of the Frankenstein story in the year's most comic, romantic, and hunting film fantasy. He continued by praising Depp's performances, stating Depp's art fully expresses the fire's longing in gentle Edward. It's a terrific performances and the engulfing score from Danny Elfman, Amy Davis of Variety spoke highly of the film and director Burton takes a character as wildly unlikely as a boy whose arms and in pruning shears and makes him a center of a delightful and delicate comic fable. So, Mark Lee of the Daily Telegraph scored the film 5 out of the 5 stars, writing Burton's modern fairy tale has an almost palpably personal feel. It is told gently, subtly, and with infinite sympathy. For an outsider who charms the looks but then inadvertently arouses their baser instincts. He also praised Depp as being sensational in the lead role, summoning anxiety, melancholy, and innocence with heartbreaking convictions, and it's all in the eyes. His dialogue is cut to the bone minimal. The Washington Post's Dyson Thompson wrote, Depp is perfectly cast. Burton builds surrealistically and Funny cul-de-sac world, and there are some very funny performances for grown-ups. Dine, West, Kathy, and Kathy Baker and Ellen Arkin, Rita Campbell also writing for the Washington, and Post praised the film Enchantment on the cutting edge, and a dark yet artful portraits of the artist as a young mannequin, and she too praised Depp's performance in stating a nicely cast bring and the eloquence of the silent era of this part of few words saying so where I was just fit for a seconds. It all through bring black eyes and the tremulous care with which he holds his horror movie hands. Owen Gleiberman, writing for Entertainment Weekly, and gave the just wait and gave the film an A minus rating, commending Elfheim's score and calling the and characters of Elward and just wait. So here is the Burton's surreal portraits of himself and portraits of himself as an artist, a wounded child converting his private darkness into outlandish pop visions, and Burton's purest achievement as a director. So far of Depp, he wrote, Depp may not be doing that much acting beneath his neo-kabuki makeup, but but what he does is tremulous and officially Janet Maslin of the New York Times wrote, Mr. Burton invests inspiring ingenuity into the process of reinventing something very small. Roger Albert. Roger Albert trying Albert of the Chicago Sun-Times gave the film a mixed review, awarding it 2 stars. And just wait for seconds, and here you can see. Okay, just wait for a second, and here it is. Awarding it 2 stars out of the 4 and writing that Burton has not yet found the storytelling and character building strength to go along with his pictorial flair, and just wait for a second. Here it is, some informations for you. Now let's talk about on the accolades. Stan Winston and Neil were nominated for the Academy Award for Best Makeup and but lost to John Caglione Jr. and Doug Draxler for their work on Dick Tracy. Productions designer Bo Welch won the BAFTA award for Best Productions Design, while costume designer Colin Archwood designer and Winston and Neil also received nominations at the British Academy Film Award in additions. Winston was nominated for his visual effect work and visual effect work and visual effect work where I was. So just wait for a second. Depp was nominated for the Golden Globe Award for the Best Actor in a musical or comedy, but lost to Gerard Depardieu. But lost to Gerard Depardieu and so here's the for green card. Edward Scissorhands was able to win the Hugo Award for the Best Dramatic Presentations and the Stern Award for the Best Fantasy Film. For the Best Fantasy Film and so Danny Elfman, Ryder, Diane West, Alan Arkin, and Atwood received individual nominations, and Elfman was also given us Grammy Award nominations, and the film is recognized by American Film Institute in these lists 2005 and so just wait. AFI 100 Years of Film Scores nominated 2008 AFI's 10 top 10 nominated fantasy films. Legacy Burton cities Edward Scissorhands as epitomizing his most personal work and Most personal work and just wait. Where I was. The film is also Burton's first collaboration with Depp and cinematographer Stephen and Kazabsky in October 2008. The Hallmark Channel purchased the television rights. Metal band Motionless in White have a song entitled Scissorhands and the Lasso with its lyrics written about the film in homage to its legacy and impact on the Gothic subculture. Additionally, metal and band Ice Nine Kills wrote the performed the songs and The World in My Hands on their fifth studio album, The Silver Scream. In 2012, Depp reprised his role in The Family Guy episode. Lois comes out of her cell in the cute way. Edward takes up a babysitter's job and promises to the parents to make sure the baby is handled with as much care and fragility as possible. Within seconds of going into the nursery, he suddenly remembers, declaring it's dead. An extinct lobsters like sea creatures called Cotanicella depi is named after Depp because of its claws. From 2014 to 15, IDW Publishing released on Edward Scissorhands comic book series, which serves as a sequel and takes place several decades after the film, and the series consists of 10 issues which have been collected in two trade paperbacks. It was written by Cataleth was with Art by Drew Roush and an ad for the Cadillac Lyris, an electric car with hands-free driving features, premiered during a Super Bowl's LV and is based on the film. It features Ryder's reprising her role as Kim, now mother of Edward's sons, Edgar's, played by Timothy Chalamet. In October 2024, Fortnite released a new character skin featuring Edward Scissorhands and stage adaptations. Stage adaptations and uh, theatrical dance adaptations by the British choreographers Matthew Bowney premiered at Seldes Wales and theatre in London in November 2005. After an 11-week season, the production toured the UK, Asia, and the United States. The British director Richard Crawford directed a stage adaptation of the Tim Burton film, which had its world premiere on July 25th, 2010 at the Brooklyn Studio Lab and ended July 3. See also list of list of films that generated cult following. Uh, Stewell Peter, Stewell Peter, 1845 German children's book by Henrik Hoffman. References catalog Edward Scissorhands and Edward Scissorhands British Board of Film Classification December 14, 1991 and archived from the original on March 5, 2020, retrieved April 20, 2020, Edward Scissorhands 1990, The Warp December 7, 1990, archived from the original on July 31st. And Edward Scissorhands, box office mojo. Box office mojo and archived from the original on December 27, 2009 and retrieved December 7, 2009. Morji Seiso's Guns, 1990, Tim Burton. Synopsis, characteristics, moods, and themes and related. All movie archived from the original on July 31st, 2020. Retried February 21st, 2020. And Burton 2000 PP 84's 288 and Hankey 1999 PP 97 to 100. and and David, January 21st, 1991, the disembodied director. Newsweek archived from the original on March 23rd, 2017, retrieved November 27, 2023. Frog Zone, Ivan, April 13, 1993, Canton product at Colpix, starting gate, variety, and archived from the original on November 5, 2012, retrieved December 4, 2008. Rose Frank, January 1991, Tip Curts, a Premier 95 to 102, retrieved November 28, 2023. And Aston Nina, for Tim Burton. This one's personal and Los Angeles Times archived from the original on March 15, retrieved December 10. Page Edwin, Edward Scissorhands, Gothic Fantasy, the films of Tim Burton, London, Marion Boyage, publishers, Burton 2000 pp 89 to 94. Hermitage Use December 12, 2015. 25 Amazing Edward Scissorhands Facts on the film's 25th birthday and the digital spy archived from the original on March 23. He was Chris January 2, 2003. Tom Cruise The Alternative Universe Empire and Universe Empire. Edward Scissorhands was made for Frax by Frax December 16, 2015 and MCG Rose December 6, 2015 Edward and Scissorhands in 25 Metro archived from the original on March 9, 2018, retrieved March 4, 2018, and Gary Oldman on almost playing Edward Scissorhands, bonding with Bowie and his diabolical good luck. And the Hollywood Reporter, August 18, 2025. And Kevin Costner and Gray Oldman. Larry King, now April 15 and 2016. 11 minutes in. And Aura TV archived from the original on March 5. And Gary Oldman on almost playing Edward Scissorhands, bonding with Bowie and his diabolical good luck. The Hollywood Reporter, August 18, 2025. Johnny Depp won role in Johnny Depp won role in Tim Burton's Edward Scissorhands over Tom Benton and so Tom Cruise and Michael Jackson's Burton 2000 PP and Johnny Depp on his inspirations of Edward Scissorhands Entertainment Weekly May 2007, archived from the original on May 24, 2007, retried May 22. Benateter Gishile December 14, Tim Burton's latest films. Entertainment Weekly archived from the original on February original on February 7, retrieved December 6. Wenra Bernard and the name is Barrymore, but the style is all Drew's. The New York Times archived from the original on May 26, retrieved November 27, and Smith Livery Helpon August 26. Lookman No Hands or Tim Burton's latest feat. The New York Times archived from the original on May 25, retrieved November 27, Hanky 1999, and names in the news Portsmouth Daily. And March 25, 1991, archived from the original on July 15, 2020, retrieved 31st, 2013, and so Frank Zoe, April 17, 1990. Lights, camera, action, and big bucks. Petersburg Times. But on 2000 and Collins, Glenn, Johnny Depp contemplates life as and after the New York Times archived from the original on May 25, 2015. Frank Zoe, May 22, 1990. Something strange in Suburbia, and Petersburg Times and Roher Larry, December 9, 1990. Pop music Batman, Batman, Darkman, and Elfan, the New York Times archived from the original or November 7, Elfan Danny 2000, Edward Scissorhands DVD audio commentary, 20th Century Fox, Fuller Graham, and